Okay, so you just got home from work. You pulled in the driveway, drove into the garage, door went down, all good, right? Actually, what you missed was on the side of your front gate, someone put a yellow zip tie right there. You definitely didn't put it there, but guess who did? There was a teenager that scoped out your house this morning and they marked it with a yellow zip tie because they're testing you. They want to see, are you vigilant enough to where you're going to notice if something's out of place? They're thinking maybe they might come back in 24 or 48 hours. If you're not vigilant, you're not paying attention, okay? So today, you and I are gonna talk about the possibility of your house being watched, what you need to know, and what you can do about it. Let's go. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Jake. I'm a home security coach, and I've literally sat down with over 1,000 families at the kitchen table and talked about home security solutions for them, okay? I help a certain type of dad make a really rapid transformation with their home security. I've got a new resource for you I want to tell you about and invite you to. Hang around to the end of this video and I'll go a little bit more in detail in case it's for you. Okay, so let's get into this topic. To start with, I want to just highlight who we're actually talking about. It is that might be scoping out your house or casing the joint, as us old people used to say, or maybe it's a Hollywood thing, I don't know. But historically, I think the people that would have a break-in, and we've been through it ourselves, are probably, and I'm not saying it's not still the case, but in generalities, where we live in Southeast Queensland, the profile for this sort of offender that's going to do an unlawful entry, break into your house, or it's armed robbery, what have you, it is changing a little bit. So when we think about burglars, I think historically we're thinking about someone that's solo, or maybe they're working in a pair with someone else, and they're doing a planned methodical attack on your home security to try to gain entry, probably during the day while you're at work, and hopefully no one's home so that they can take some valuables and get out of there without anyone knowing about it. They're going for stealth, okay? That still happens, and it probably always will happen, but there's been a trend in where we are, Southeast Queensland here, in probably the mid-2020s, and probably started before that, but it's quite pronounced now, that we've got this youth crime thing going on. And it's tough to grapple with because instead of preferring stealth as sort of a method of operation, it is smash and grab. It's, I think, less often adult offenders. I think it's more often youth offenders. We're talking about teenagers from 13 to 19 and up, and it's really troubling for peace-loving families like yours and mine, because it's quite terrorizing for the families that have to go through this if they happen to be at home, because they are coming in with speed and force and threatening families that they come into contact with, which is obviously pretty horrendous to go through. So the reason why I bring this up is that it means that you should consider this and shift your strategy a little bit, and we'll get to that. But these gangs of armed teens, we're seeing anywhere from a handful to 7 and 8. It's overwhelming numbers, really. But they're going for smash and grab, so literally just kicking down doors, bashing in. There's no sort of attempt at stealth, I think, by and large. Speaking in generalities, but this is sort of a pattern that we're seeing. And I think it's actually even kind of limiting the amount of how much planning they're doing ahead of time. I'm not saying that they wouldn't be planning days and days out, but I think sometimes it could just be a spur of the moment thing where they're like, let's go tonight, let's do it. And then they'd be looking for just immediately what presents to them as a soft target. Any street you're going to drive down, you're going to have a range of houses that appear to be hard targets, soft targets, and anywhere in between. So if they're looking for homes that appear vulnerable, the ones that look like they've got the best ROI, return on their investment of risk, in trying to break into your home and getting caught by you and police, is probably going to be a target. So there's more car theft going on. There's more just theft of cash and things like that at knife point, even potentially at gunpoint, under threat, under duress. So this sort of method of operation of getting into these homes through that sort of speed and force requires you to nuance your strategy a little bit. It's not to say that no one is going to try to sneak in your sort of classical way that they're thinking of doing that, but because it's so much more dramatic, I would prefer you to be prepared for both. And it is sort of the kind of thing where if you're prepared for the smash and grab, you're going to do pretty well against sort of a planned attack as well. So anyway, just want to highlight that we're talking about a certain profile that happens to be trending right now the last few years. All right, did I miss anything? No, it's pretty good. We'll mention too, the kids that are coming in, and we can just see this from watching the news, like any given night, there's going to be stories about break-ins. But they're targeting cars, I think, to start with, and cash and valuables. And they're doing that, as I said, under threat. So this gives you an idea of what's going on. You know this. You've probably seen it happen in your community. You've seen it on the news. You know what I'm talking about. But it's worth mentioning. This is the sort of threat that's changed a little bit over recent years. So how I want to break this down is I want to think about your property in zones, if you will. So think about your most outermost zone being your perimeter. So we're talking about your fence line, the boundaries all the way around your own house. The next zone, which we'll call it zone 1 as perimeter. Zone 2 is the exterior space around your house. And then zone 3 is sort of the physical sort of layer of security on the outside of your house. Okay. So starting at that outer zone, the perimeter, we can think about what sort of presents as a soft target, what makes you look vulnerable. And we're going to sort of go down the list because there are definitely some things that do highlight your house as being soft target. Okay. When they're scoping, by the way, they're casing your house, they're obviously at that perimeter line or beyond. They're coming by on cars, on bikes, on scooters. They could be jogging past, could just be walking down the road. But anybody coming past potentially could be, we don't want to be sort of paranoid, but you need to be realistic that they will probably be driving past, walking past. They may even come and knock on your door, which we'll talk about in a minute. But if they've got their phone out, they're obviously taking some video or some photos. That's a pretty good indicator somebody is watching your house. Like literally, if they got their phone out, or if your neighbor happens to notice that they've got their phone out checking your house out, it's pretty safe to say they are scoping you. Now, if you've got also in that perimeter zone, if you get an absence of lights and cameras to where they don't see anything that presents to them any evidence that you've taken some kind of effort to put up some sort of defensive measure like a light or a camera, and you can do that at that perimeter. And I've known families that have actually saved themselves a lot of drama by putting simply a ring style doorbell camera at the front gate. I'm not talking about the front door, I'm talking about the gate. So that is in that perimeter layer there. So if you don't have anything there, think about maybe what can you put in that layer. They're looking for signs of wealth. Okay, so if you've got flash BMW, Mercedes, what have you, at the front, and it's visible, that definitely in today's what we're facing in the community, that is definitely a sign that gives you a level of vulnerability that someone who's driving a 1992 Corolla may not have the same level of vulnerability. No offense if you drive the Corolla, it's a good little car, very reliable. But yeah, so signs of wealth. I will make one caveat on that, and this is something I've heard recently. It's just that EVs, although an EV, I think someone could consider to be a sign of wealth, because there's so much smart tech in that EV and they're so tracked. And to be honest, the BMW, the what have you, the luxury prestige car might have just as much tech in it, but for some reason the EVs are perceived to have more so level. So why would they steal a car and then drive off in it only to just have the owner or the police watching them and tracking exactly where they go, only to sort of catch them, 5Ks down the road. So EVs are a little bit of an exception to that one, but signs of wealth, signs of absence, which we'll talk about a little bit more. So if it appears that you are away from home or you're not paying attention, you're not there, that to them, and if you start to combine some of these factors, then you start to look pretty juicy, your property is anyway. Signs of easy access. So if it is very obvious to anyone walking down the street that they can literally walk right off the street, literally straight up to your front door, do whatever they want to do, and then bug out, and they are out of there in seconds. So there's zero resistance, no fence, no gate, nothing for them to jump over, climb. That's kind of a win for them. So if you start to put these together and you're like, wow, we've got prestige car, doesn't really seem like anyone's home, and we've got super easy access in and out of that property, that's starting to look like a pretty soft, pretty juicy target. So if that's you in your house, you got some thinking to do about this, and we'll give you some ideas, all right? Now, I started off this video by talking about that front gate being marked. There are so many variations on this, and it's not something I've directly personally had experience with, but I've heard stories about it, and it prompted me to do a little bit of research, and I'll share some of that with you with what I found, okay? I think some of this is probably you'll find is maybe specific to Southeast Queensland, some of the patterns that we've seen here in certain communities. But and the most classic one really is just that the bin is left out on the street. So if your trash day happens to be on Wednesday and it's like, you know, they will know if they like your neighborhood and they like your house and they see that, okay, it's bin day is Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening comes and goes. Your bin is still out in the street. Thursday comes and goes. Your bin is still out in the street. They may drive past and go, whoa, I haven't taken the bin in. Are they home? Are they away on holidays? BMW's there, but doesn't seem like anyone's home. Friday rolls around. They're like, dude, this is looking good. So things like that that are sort of plainly obvious to people who are paying attention, including potential people that are trying to try to break into your home. Another one could be that a package has been left and they may have actually left a package at your doorstep that may appear to just be like an Amazon drop or something like that. And they want to see that if they leave it on your front doorstep and it's still there after a day, 2 days, is his family home? Maybe they're not home. Maybe they're away on holidays. So most people probably, depending on how you use your house, will probably go through their front door once or twice a day. If you happen to enter and exit through the garage and you don't use the front door, fine, maybe that tells them that that door is not attended. It's not used. Is it even locked? Who knows? No one's really using that door. So that is something to look for. Check your front doorstep. Another sort of associated one is junk mail. So to take a, I don't know, real estate leaflet or something like that, and then just wedge it in the door next to the doorknob where it could be visible from the street. Maybe it's particularly colorful or something like that, and they can see, yep, that little leaflet is still jammed in there. If they might just go and grab it out of your letterbox, tuck it into the front door and just see, is it still there after a day or 2 days? That's a pretty good sign to them. Maybe no one's home, or maybe no one's really particularly vigilant about what's going on around the front of their house. Another one that has come up is to put masking tape or a sticker somewhere at the front of the house where it's obviously visible again. So it could be letterbox, it could be front gate, it could be front door, or somewhere readily visible, particularly if the people that live there would come across that in their daily course of activities, and the sticker is still there for a day and a couple of days. You see what I mean? So that's just another variant on that sort of thing. Another one that came up was to wipe, like let's say you've got a big old dusty garage door and they can come and put a wipe, or who knows, maybe it's even a particular symbol of a wipe that it's not necessarily noticeable unless you're looking, because you put that wipe there yourself in the morning and you want to see if the next day or 2 days later it's still there, or did someone clean it off? Just a wipe in the dust. I did mention earlier about the zip tie at the gate. Could be front gate, could be side gate, could be some other feature at the front of your property where you should notice it if you're paying attention. Maybe they want to see, are you paying enough attention where you come and remove that? So a zip tie, a possibility as well. Another one is to scatter some sort of trash, rubbish, litter, whatever you want to call it, at the front of the house. It could be on the little nature strip next to the sidewalk, the footpath. Could be, maybe they leave a Monster Energy can upside down on top of your, like next to your side gate or something like that, where it's like somebody would have put that there and maybe they just want to see, are you paying enough attention? Is that can still going to be there? Is that rubbish still going to be there in a couple of days' time? Because if it is, that's a pretty good indicator to them that you're not paying attention to what's going on around the front of your house. So oddly placed litter. And then just finally, stuff that's out of place. Would they take a toy, maybe a toy from part of your yard, and put it somewhere so that it's noticeable for them? Maybe they flip it upside down. Maybe they put it in a certain position or in a certain place somewhere on the front of your house that seems a little bit odd, that you, again, should notice that, but maybe you didn't, and they know, oh yeah, that's exactly how I left it yesterday or the day before that. So pay attention to the front of your house. Try to be vigilant. Just be observant in general, which is a good habit to have. But if you come across something like this, you should report it. Okay. I would be certainly sharing that with my neighbors if I was even a little bit suspicious that my house had been marked in this way. And probably even just reporting it to the police, because if that information can be shared, it can be hopefully recognized. And if something does end up happening, if there's some sort of incident or attempted incident in the days following that, that just backs up your story that this was the pattern of what happened, and it might help them to be able to prevent something like that from happening again. So probably just go ahead and report that. The other thing I wanted to mention on this perimeter layer is just neighbors oblivious. Everyone's neighborhood is going to be a little bit different, but if you've got neighbors living around you and people don't talk to each other, don't know each other, it's just like ships in the night kind of thing, and no one's even really taken any trouble to go to meet their neighbors and have some kind of working relationship with them. I think that just presents to someone who's trying to operate and do these sort of things in a neighborhood like that, that these people don't, they're not observant, they don't care, they're not heads up looking to see, oh, why is this car parked there? Who's this guy that's just walked up to that house? What you want is you want the opposite of that. And I've spoken about this on other episodes, but ideally you would network with your neighbors, form a little bit of a team with them, and look out for each other. Have a little private chat group where you guys can share videos and photos of, hey, this was in my yard this morning. Anybody see someone put this here? Imagine having a little private chat group like that with your neighbors where you can just share that sort of info immediately. That could be really valuable. So that's free. There's no cost to doing that. It's just a matter of your time and intent to just go and form a relationship with your neighbor and strengthen. All right. There's a Bible verse that talks about how a cord of 2 strands is not quickly broken. A cord of three strands. I'll probably botch this, but the moral of the story was just that when you join forces with 1 or 2 other people, it really multiplies the strength that you have together as a little tight-knit group in the community. Wow, that got pretty deep pretty quick there, but it's just the principle is really powerful. It's more powerful than what you think. So that's all I'm gonna say for now on that zone 1, that perimeter. Okay, so we'll move on to zone 2, which is the exterior. Less to go through on this one, but as we mentioned already, things that make your property appear juicy to someone who is scoping it for potentially break and enter in the next couple of days. No lights, no cameras, okay? Or maybe there are lights and cameras there, but they're not functional, okay? Or maybe there's only one. A lack of visible presence of lights and cameras, or the opposite, if they can see, wow, there's a lot of effort been put in here to security, but the house next door, there's none. Which one do you think they're going to choose? Okay, so those sort of visible signs. Now, the other one I want to mention as well is the dog. I think probably dog has got to be one of the best sort of force multipliers if you think about the 80-20 principle. If there's something that you could do on your property that would, that one feature might provide the lion's share, like a really disproportionately strong amount of security, dog would be on the list. This doesn't mean that having a dog there solves everything, okay? I've seen, actually, the recent break-in breakdown that I did, Roachdale, I believe, I could tell there was dogs, like there were dog beds present at the back of this house where these teens broke into. I don't think, having a dog is means that your problems are solved. However, I've heard of police having caught someone doing break-in-enters in the area, and they had a map on them of all the houses in the area that had dogs, and all the houses with dogs were crossed off, as in like, skip this house, there's a dog there. Okay. We've all had dogs. We all know that like one dog does not equal like man-eating beast. Most of them are pretty friendly, and obviously there are ways of defeating that, even if the dog is a little bit unfriendly. But I think at a minimum, most dogs are going to bark and let their owner know and let the rest of the neighbors know that something's going on, someone's here. And that's kind of that dog's job, is to just be on that territory and be on patrol. That's their job to do. So if you don't have a dog, I think that does make you a little bit more vulnerable. There's no sort of built-in natural alarm system that's going to just start barking and tell everyone, hey, someone's here. So dog is a factor. There's more to it. I've spoken about dogs a little bit, but it is certainly worth considering. But if you don't have one, I think that is a little bit of a flag. In that exterior area as well, clutter, neglect, signs that maybe it's affluent looking home, but the grass is long. There's just kid stuff all over the yard. It just kind of might look like a mess. And signs of neglect there, I think you could probably infer that, okay, if they've neglected the yard, they've neglected the condition around the exterior of the house, decent chance they've neglected the security as well. I'm sure there's exceptions, but if we're making generalizations and looking for soft targets, that's pretty logical. So something to consider as well. If your house presents neat, orderly, looked after, probably logically follows that someone like that has probably thought about security and probably been a little bit more thorough than someone who's got tall grass. And yeah, you get what I'm saying. I've mentioned this a little bit before, but easy access and egress. So if they can see the space around your house and they can look at that and go, yep, okay, maybe there's a gate, but there's nothing else obstructing there. There's no landscaping features or anything. I can get straight in and out. I can see my way in and out. That's the sort of thing where, on balance, it might make them feel like I like that because I know I can get in and out. Classically, you'll hear with home security advice that, have your shrubs and your landscaping nice and neat and tidy so that the front of your house is visible. And I think in general, that's probably true, because if your neighbors are on point and they're vigilant, they're going to probably notice there's someone in your front yard that is not supposed to be there. That cuts a little bit both ways, in the sense that the person who's not supposed to be there will be able to see all the features of your front yard and go, oh, I know exactly how to get in and out of that. So there's that as well. It's probably just something to be aware of. If you've done a good job on the perimeter layer, particularly if you've got fenced in gates, again, it's not going to stop them from climbing it. We've certainly seen that as well. It just means that, okay, if they've got a house next door that's equally has signs of wealth and absence and all that, like we talked about earlier, but no fence and gate, they can get straight in and out, they're probably going to skip the one that involves a little bit more work. It's going to slow them down a bit. Okay. Remember, they want speed and they want ease. So if you can create obstacles that are going to take away from their speed and ease of access and egress, that's probably going to work in your favor. It's going to work against them. All right, so that's about it for zone 2, that exterior. Let's finish up. We'll talk about the physical layer. Okay, so we're talking again about your physical defense on the house, the screens. What have you got in your doors and your windows, or what have you not got? If they look at your house and they go, I cannot see a single security screen there, or if they look at your house and they're like, all right, wow, okay, there's definitely for example, CrimSafe screen door on there next door, and you got nothing. Which one presents as more vulnerable? I will tell you right now, French doors on the front of a house are a soft target. If you have got French, and by French doors, I mean double. Okay, so you've got two doors side by side. One is kind of passive, one's active, one's got the doorknob on it, and that's the one that you come and go through. Because the door frame is twice as wide, and in that center of the door where the two doors meet, there's not typically any frame, because the doors just meet each other there, and they might have a lock and a deadbolt. It's not enough. It's not enough. If you've got French doors at the front of your house and you don't have any screens on, you're vulnerable. I'll just tell you that right now. That's, to me, that's 100%. It's a risk factor. If you think you've got enough deadbolts and stuff and locks on the door, nope. Definitely your house would be a soft target with no screens on. If you put proper security screens on that French door, that might be enough in itself to make someone go like, oh, okay, now we could get through that, but that is going to take some time, and it's going to make a lot of noise to try to get through there. Oh, next door, they got nothing. Let's go to that one. Okay, so take my word on that, please. What else? Yeah, the front door, I think out of the entire house, if you were going to put a security screen anywhere, it'd have to go on the front door. If they look at your house and they're like, there's nothing on the front door, and this can go a couple of ways. Modern houses, that have got these nice, big, tall, wide, especially in affluent homes, affluent neighborhoods. A lot of modern homes do not have a security screen door just because of design. They love their front door. They don't want to put anything in front of it to cover it up. I get that. I've talked to so many families like that, and I get it. Your front door is gorgeous, but it is a huge security vulnerability to have nothing on your front door. When your wife goes to open that front door because someone has knocked on it, if she can't see who's out there, she's got to open that front door because she's thinking, oh, it could be the neighbor. Or what if it's not? What if it's someone who wants to force their way in? There's so many reasons why you just definitely should have one on there. And you want everyone who's driving and walking and scooting past to see, okay, they've got a really decent security screen on the front door. Please just consider it. Okay. Enough said. What else? Yeah, a lot of glass around the ground floor. A lot of glass, especially sliding doors, bifold doors. This all presents as a target if it's easily accessible at the ground door. If it's not the front door, it could be the kitchen, the side of the garage, the back lounge room, what have you. Nice, long, beautiful bifold featured doors that sort of accordion up, notoriously harder to put security screens on and quite expensive. That's a lot of glass. Now, I will mention there are ways that you can secure that with proper security film. These days you can get clear, you can get tinted security film that if you're not going to put screens on, you can put it directly on the glass. It goes on the inside typically, and it's not going to stop bullets per se, but it's going to make it much harder for someone to try to just smash through that glass and come on in. So this is something that you can put on any fixed panel of glass, windows, doors. If you are not going to put security screens on, and I'm very reluctant to let you not put security screens on, I would say at the bare minimum, if it's visible or if it's really easily accessible, please get some of that security film and put it on there. So that's easily done and relatively affordable compared to the screens. So there's that. Wanted to just briefly talk about the sort of door knock. Okay. What we have seen, I heard a story recently about someone having there was a knock at the door. There was a young gal that was there, and she had, I think, climbed over the front gate to arrive at the front door, which is like, what are you doing? Seriously? Open the door. Like, what are you doing here? And I think it was some sort of story about, oh, are you selling that couch? I saw a couch for sale on Facebook. I'm here to pick up the couch. Can I pay you? Like, clearly a story, was not meant to be there. I think she ended up jumping the fence and getting out of there when she was called on it. But stuff like that, where they could, it could be Amazon delivery or like a fake Amazon delivery, or just, oh, can I use your phone? Or all these stories that you're like, this is just weird. What are you doing? What they are doing is they're checking you out. They're checking your house out. They might want to get a peek and see, is there a dog here? Is there a reason? Are the car keys visible? This is another one we're going to talk about. So if someone appears at the front door and it's just a random visitor with some random question that seems completely irrelevant and kind of smells of BS a little bit, there's a pretty good chance that they're checking you out. So don't give them the time of day. Let them know, or you're probably going to call the police. I mean, you don't want to be incredibly rude, but you don't also want to present weakness. Just not good. Okay. So yes, I mentioned the car keys. This is a little bit of a tricky one, but don't present such a temptation to them that they can actually see your car keys from the front door, the side door, the laundry door, wherever it is that you keep the car keys. You want them to be out of sight. If they can see, if they're looking, they're snooping around looking to see because you've got the prestige car. If they can see the prestige car and they can see the keys hanging there, or they're just on the kitchen bench, but they can see from the laundry door, like you're sort of asking for it. The flip side of that is that, to be honest, if someone is going to go to the trouble and risk of breaking into your house in an attempt to try to take your car, you actually want them to just take the car and get out. All right. Your job is to keep your family safe. Don't worry about the car. Car is replaceable. I don't care what you feel about your car. Look after your family, obviously. Okay, you know this. Um, you want the car keys to be accessible, because if somebody goes to trouble to get in, you want them to find the car keys probably pretty close to the front door or side door where they came in. Do you really want them hunting through bedrooms looking for the car keys because you keep your car keys right next to your bed at night because you don't want someone taking the car? Leave the leave the keys down somewhere where they can be located. Maybe you can keep a spare up there with you or something like that, but you want them to find the car keys, okay? Hopefully this sort of makes sense, but you want them to find the car keys if they're looking for them, but you just don't want them to be so plainly obvious that they're just laying on the bench there or in a little dish where anybody can see it from the front door, okay? That's just you creating temptation that you don't want. Yeah, hopefully that makes a point, but now let me just see, did I get everything on the notes? Yep, pretty much. All right, so just to summarize, just be aware we've got sort of a different bunch of people that are doing this activity in the community these days. It's more the teen gangs are probably armed. They've probably got knives. They may have machetes. Who knows if they got firearms, but they're going for the smash and grab. The better we can do on denying access at the perimeter, and certainly denying access through physical security on the doors and windows, that is going to be your best shot at preventing this thing. So if you were going to drop some money to invest in your home security, I would probably put it there. Okay. Enough said. And then again, at that perimeter zone, what can you put in place there to create a deterrence? What can you do with your neighbors to communicate better and just provide better support, better visibility to each other, and just in generally keep an eye out for each other? Paying attention to what's the condition of your perimeter, what's going on around the front of your house where people could reasonably have access to it. Have they placed something, or have they done something or added something or changed something in the front of your house, which will be visually obvious to people passing or, being able to see from the street. So just keep an eye on your place. And then again, in that last zone on your physical security, I mentioned it a few times, but please put something on your door, your front door. If you don't have anything on there, please put something on there. The other doors, if you can, ideal world, I'll be having security screens on every ground floor door and window. It's obviously not a cheap exercise to do, but it's worth it because you then don't have to worry about it. You've got the peace of mind. You can have the door open, you can have the window open and get cross breeze through, especially when it's warmer times of the year. And you don't have to worry about someone turning up at the front door and your wife then has to open it. I'm an advocate on that, trust me. Hopefully I haven't beat this to death too much, but it's important. I want you to be aware of the people in your community, that how they interact, how they plan, how they look to prepare to do the break-ins. I think the more you know and understand about it, the more you can sort of perceive and be aware. And when it does happen, it may never happen. Hopefully it never does. But if you do notice something out of place, at least you'll have a bit of an idea. I need to report this. I need to get whatever the object is. If it's that Monster Energy can, get it out of there. You want to show them, I saw that can, it is gone. Don't even bother coming back, okay? Anyway, I hope you found this is useful. As I mentioned earlier, I have got a resource for you, okay? It's something I put together. It's called the 80/20 HomeSec Bootcamp, okay? It's for dads that want to make a really rapid transformation with their home security. You've heard about the 80/20 principle. So 80% of your outcomes come from 20% of your sources. This is the Pareto principle. It's been around for a long time. And does it apply to home security? You bet it does, okay? Because 80% of your home security can come from 20% of your home security elements or features or enhancements, all right? This course is about that. Without going into too much detail now, you don't have to get everything right with your home security. You just have to get the right things right, okay? And where it comes to tech, I think your tech, including your alarms, your cameras, your lights, if you get that right, you can supercharge your security system and those layers of defense. If you get it wrong, that tech can be a single point of failure, okay? It matters. So we talk about that in there. The goal is for you to save months of planning and research to be able to look and find this information yourself. It's not rocket science. You could actually figure this out and plan this by yourself. There's thousands and thousands of YouTube videos for you to watch. There's endless, infinite oceans of information online for you to read about this. I've already done that for you, okay, and distilled this into one course. So we do this over 2 days, whereas you could take a year doing all the research for yourself if you wanted to. We just shortcut the whole thing. So the aim is to save you a whole bunch of time and save you thousands of dollars spending money on the wrong equipment where it's just guesswork. You're putting it up and just hoping for the best. So this is really for you, particularly if you have been through some kind of home security incident and your family's just been through it, and now you're in the wake of all this sort of trauma. You're just trying to figure out how to make it all work. Don't put drag this thing out for months and months and months. Come to the 80/20 HomeSec Bootcamp. We'll sort it out in a weekend. It'll be probably a Saturday and Sunday, maybe 2.5 hour sessions times 2. We'll get the whole plan sorted out. You'll leave and you'll have a plan. You know exactly what you need to do, okay? There's a link below. If you go to homesecurity.coach/bootcamp, you'll see some information there. You can jump on the wait list. And I'll love to see you in there, all right? I've said enough. I'm gonna wrap it up. Again, I hope you found this useful, and I will see you in the next one. God bless.